Hey guys, this video is probably going to surprise a lot of you because I am going to talk about the best character, in my opinion, on global right now, which is actually going to be this Kaito Yuki. And yes, I know this is an R unit, but I'm not tripping and I'm not trolling you guys. Honestly speaking, he's better than any other SSR in the game right now, in my opinion. And even with Domain Gojo and Sukuna being added to the game probably in a month or so, Kaito's still going to be there in top 3, in my opinion, sitting alongside Domain Gojo and Sukuna, obviously. But yeah, that's literally how good I think it is. And a lot of you guys probably know he's good because of how strong his skill 3 is. But that's actually only half his kit. I think a lot of times people don't actually appreciate the rest of his kit, especially his ultimate attack, because this ultimate attack, to be honest, is actually just as good as his skill 3, and a lot of times it's even more unique than his skill 3 and more irreplaceable than his skill 3 is. So if you guys already think Kaito is a top tier unit and S tier unit, just based on the fact that his skill 3 is so irreplaceable and so pivotal a lot of time, once you actually watch this video and I'll talk about how to actually play him correctly, especially how to use his ultimate attack correctly, you would then realize, when you actually consider Kaito as a whole package with all of his skills there, there's a reason why he's a cut above all the rest of the SSR characters, etc. And that's basically what makes him the best character in the game, in my opinion. Okay, now obviously I already kind of gave away slightly here. Like a huge part of what makes Kaito so good is actually gonna be how to use his ultimate attack correctly, and I will save a whole section on that because I think it justifies that. But before getting to that point, I will also want to mention 3 other reasons why I think Kaito is, the best character in the game. Now, the number 1 reason is gonna be if you literally do any kind of poll or statistics in terms of which character is the most commonly used for the difficult stages in this game, I can tell you Kaito is probably going to be the number 1 used character, and probably beating other characters by quite a bit. And the reason for this is quite simple because I don't know how many of you guys watched this. If you haven't, then please do watch it because I will share the link in the video description. But I have created a team building guide for this game. And in this game, to be honest, there are only 2 main strategies when you are trying to team build. You can either go for a burst team where you have 1 DPS and just try to nuke the enemy as fast as possible, or you could also have a stall team where you slowly wear down the enemy. And if you actually take a look at my video and also look at the commonly used character for those 2 teams, you will then realize there's one character who is in common in both of them. And that is going to be Kaito. And this is, the reason why he is probably, statistically speaking, the most picked character, because he is able to give a huge buff himself and also providing curse energy for the rest of the team. So your supporters can keep on stacking their buff and therefore go for that burst strategy. Or when you're talking about a stall strategy where you need to play the battle out for 30, 40 turns, having this battery able to provide curse energy for your whole team to make sure you're always able to stack your damage reduction, to be able to actually, for example, Mahito to charge up his ultimate attack quick enough, you need Kaito for that as well. So no matter which strategy you cut it, Kaito is going to be, number 1 choice for both of those strategies. You could also argue the other rare character, Toge, is also the case. But Toge is less useful in a burst team because Toge for a burst team, you normally want Toge to just die straight away afterwards, whereas Kaito actually have that long-lasting value of actually being a permanent member on the burst team. So that's kind of why, purely from statistical point of view, Kaito is literally going to be the most used character for this game. And if that doesn't make him one of the best character in the game, I don't know what other criteria you'll be using, right? So purely from the number of times you will be playing character, Kaito is going to be the number 1 choice there. No brainer for that one. Then the second reason is that Kaito is actually a complete package in terms of what he's able to do. And this is also very crucial considering the fact that he can be used in 2 different types of strategies. Because if you actually take a look at his whole kit, there's obviously this insane skill 3, which everyone knows, right? Providing curse energy for your whole team. This is a great utility skill. But on top of that, he also have a damage reduction skill and also a damage buffing skill. And this makes him very fungible and also adaptable. Because now if you actually think about it, I could have a burst team where maybe I have been very unlucky with the enemy targeting and one of my units keep on getting hit all the time, and I need a way to somehow protect him in the middle of the battle, even though I have already set off my recollection to damage buffing, etc. as well, what are you going to do? You could just simply pivot away the usage of Kaito into his skill 2 in order to provide that damage taken or damage reduction. Or if you're in a stall team and you need to wipe out the 2 side mobs, however, you then realize you have been unlucky and not getting a crit, etc., what can you do? You can then once again change the usage of Kaito to actually increase the curse technique increase for your whole team to maybe kill off the side mobs so that your Mojito can then go into 1 versus 1 battle with the main enemy boss. The fact that Kaito is being used in 2 totally different strategies, yet having essentially 3 different types of skills, makes him very pivotal in those types of strategies when you have been, unlucky with different RNG and you need to somehow quickly adapt on your feet to still continue on with the strategy. That makes Kaito very, very fungible and adaptable. And a lot of time, he is one of the only unit you can freely pivot away from, damage buffing to damage reduction, etc. Like, there's not many unit in the game can do that, and Kaito is actually one of the few examples. And on top of that, he is actually present in both strategies, just makes him really, really valuable from a strategic point of view. And also on this point, a lot of people probably don't realize how good the skill 2 is. This is a damage taken decrease. The value itself is not that bad, to be honest. A lot of time people are just, shitting on it purely because it's only for one ally rather than for your whole team. However, you have to remember this is only 10 curse energy, and you actually get 10 curse energy regen every single turn. And once again, this makes it very useful as a last minute pinch resort. If you actually need to save someone's life, right? For example, you could literally be used up all of your curse energy on the turn before, and then you got very unlucky with enemy targeting, and one of your allies suddenly on the brink of death. Your other supporter probably wouldn't have enough curse energy to suddenly generate that damage taken decrease. However, Kaito is guaranteed to be able to do that. Even if you have spent all of your curse energy, or if the enemy actually have an attack which suck away your curse energy, it doesn't matter. No matter whatever the scenario, you are guaranteed to be able to put this off, and you are always able to, let's say, protect the one who's on the brink of death, and that's basically what makes it so useful. Okay, so this is the second reason why Kaito is, in my opinion, the best character in the game. Third reason is going to be his skill 3. I think this one everyone knows, so I won't go into too much detail, but this is a skill which is so unique in the sense that no other character is able to do it. Yes, there's an SSR version of Kaito that's going to be out soon who's able to do it, but he doesn't actually do this as well as the R version because there's actually a condition on when he can actually recover curse energy for the team. So purely from this perspective, R Kaito is going to win. And then the other aspect is that this can't even be replicated by recollections either, because a lot of the other effects in this game can be replicated by recollection. For example, if you don't want to bring Shoko into a team, you can bring a healing recollection. There's both an AoE healing and also single target healing one, so you can always use this. Or for example, if you want to increase the ultimate energy for your whole team, there's unity for you to do that, with damage buff, there's loads of recollection able to do that. However, increasing curse energy for your whole team, there's literally no recollection who's able to do that at all. You can either increase the recollection for yourself by activating repeatedly, for example, like hot for party, a slight gap, that kind of thing, but that's not for the whole team. Or if you're talking about for the whole team, it'd be the likes of Mutual Trust, who's able to do that once at the start of the battle, and then that's it. Like, literally something which can regularly be activated to increase curse energy for your whole team. There's no recollection able to do that, and that's basically what makes Kaito almost irreplaceable from this aspect as well, because you can't even compensate this by using another character or using another recollection. Just literally no way around that. So that's kind of what makes this so good. And this is probably the number one reason people would think Kaito is a top tier character. And now those 3 are kind of the obvious points, but now I'm going to talk about his ultimate attack, which is, despite the fact of how good it is, it's probably still going to be the one overlooked by a lot of people, because there's so many different tricks you can do with this ultimate attack. And in fact, there are going to be 3 distinct tricks you can do with this ultimate attack that I'm going to tell you guys now, and that is going to be a major part of you unlocking Kaito's full potential and actually play him correctly. Okay, so the number 1 trick for Kaito ultimate attack is going to be the fact that you need to realize this is lasting for 3 turns. It's not just for the turn when you actually activate the buff, and this by itself is already very unique because vast majority of the buffers in this game or debuffers, like for example Yoga, Nanami, Gakuganji, for example, all of them need to be on the field when they activate that because once they die, yes, any buff they have been activated previously will still be valid for however many turns. However, you lose out the potential for the turns where then could have also been using their own skills. Whereas for Kaito, it doesn't matter. I could be activating my ultimate attack, it lasts for 3 turns. I could literally be killed on the same turn where my Kaito activates his ultimate attack, and you have absolutely making zero impact in terms of how much buff I will be getting. Whereas, for example, Yaga can stack his buff for a maximum of 4 turns. However, if he's killed off in the middle, if he is killed off on 2 turns, you could only stack up his buff maximum 2 times, right? You won't be able to, he won't even be alive for the last 2 turns to make it 4 stacks. Whereas for Kaito, doesn't matter. I can activate it and I can make Kaito go away and die and then sub in another supporter. And this is going to be very crucial because a lot of times when you actually try to go for burst him to maximize the amount of damage output, what you will actually be doing is that you will actually having Kaito activate his ultimate attack, make him actually somehow die either through RNG or maybe you can place like a taunt regression on him. And then afterwards, sub in another supporter such as Momo who is able to reach the maximum amount of buff in just 2 turns. And then all of a sudden, rather than having only one supporter on there trying to stack up buff for 4 turns, let's take Yaga for example, right? If I'm just talking about one single supporter in the form Yaga, over those 4 turns, the maximum I can do is only 45.81 times 4, so that's about 180% buff. However, if I actually utilize the switcheroo tactic, where I have Kaito activate his ultimate attack, which is 115, and then have him die off in order to sub in Momo, who's able to then give 62% for 2 turns, that's a lot higher. That's about 230% damage dealt, with 230% buff in total, which is actually a lot higher than what any single buffer was supported with these debuffer is able to give by themselves with just one single character slot. So even though there's only one single character slot, the fact that I'm using Kaito's ultimate attack and then do a switcheroo with a second supporter afterwards is actually going to be a lot more beneficial than any other single supporter is able to do. So that's basically what makes Kaito really, really crucial from a burst team point of view, because not only he's able to provide curse energy for your whole team, he can also do the switcheroo trick with his ultimate attack. And yes, you could argue this is only for curse technique users, but vast majority of the strong DPS in this game are Gojos, and they are all curse technique users anyway. Yuta also curse technique user. Like pretty much like all of the strong DPS other than Zhong Yuji and Toji are curse technique user. So this is pretty much going to be a valid trick for every single burst team out there. Okay, so this is one way of how you can utilize his ultimate attack correctly. The second thing you can utilize his ultimate attack correctly is actually manipulate the turn order. And this is going to be especially useful when you want to do a multi-ult strategy. For example, you have blue Gojo on the field and you need to use 2 ultimate attack in the one battle. Now, the reason why you're able to do this is you need to realize Kaito's ultimate attack is a buff. And buff actually move in front of any other damage dealing attack. But also on top of that, when you do a combo attack, you are forced to have the second team member use their ultimate attack right after the first team member. And what that basically means is that because Kaito, I actually think Kaito is the only character in the game with an ultimate attack that's actually a buff. And what that basically means is Kaito is actually able to manipulate the attacking order for the rest of your team, no matter which way they have position. And one good example I'm going to show you guys in this demo is that I'm going to do a multi-ult strategy with my blue Gojo, and I'll be showing you guys how even though I have my Gojo charge up his ult and also use his ult in the same turn, I can still manipulate the turn order with my Kaito so that he would then still benefit from our Toge's ult increase buff. So basically, I'm just going to quickly charge up the ult first just to set everything up so you guys can tell. So normally with any kind of multi-ult strategy, this is kind of the default team you want to do. It's always going to be Toge and Kaito because you want to constantly increase your ult energy for your team, and then you will probably have Yaga as your buffer because even though you're doing multi-ult, you still want that extra damage buff, etc. Right? Okay, so now you can see all of my characters are charged up, and basically what you see is normally, for example, buff attack always move first. For example, if I use this attack from Kaito and also use this buff on Toge, and then I'll go from ult on my Blue Gojo. Obviously, Blue Gojo is actually doing damage dealing attack, so all of the 3 buff attack from my other team members are going to be used before my Gojo actually use his attack. And then, for example, if you take a look at what Toge is able to do, he's trying to do an ultimate energy increase. However, by the time he actually activated the skill, Gojo wouldn't have used his ultimate attack yet because Gojo's completely charged up right now. So basically, this means this will be completely wasted if I do use this turn. And a lot of time you may actually be choosing to use a different attack instead. And what that often also means is that it wouldn't actually give you enough time for you to charge up your ult for the second time round when you actually want to get it under 7 turns before for your Gojo to use his ultimate attack again by turn 7. However, a simple trick you can do here is that if you actually do a combo attack with Blue Gojo, what you then realize is that a link has been established between your Kaito and also your Blue Gojo. So even though Blue Gojo is normally using a damage dealing attack, the fact that it's comboed up and also linked up together with Kaito's ultimate attack means that as soon as Kaito's ultimate attack is going to be used, Kaito's going to force Blue Gojo to attack next and therefore jump the queue in front of Toge. So the natural attacking order should have been Yaga, Kaito, Toge, and also Blue Gojo because that's the way they have been positioned, and also that's the way the buff attack are prioritized in front of the damage dealing ones. However, if I actually do it like this way, what you can then see is Kaito's going to attack second, and then that's going to force my Blue Gojo to do his attack and therefore jump the queue, and therefore you can see his ultimate attack right now is already being emptied out because he have already attacked. So by the time it gets to the fourth member, when the time comes to Toge's attack, when he actually uses his skill 2, I have already cleared out the ultimate energy, and therefore I managed to get 1 extra round of ultimate gain on my Blue Gojo, and that's essentially how you can make sure your Gojo charge up his ultimate attack again by turn 7. Okay, now let's talk about the third trick you can do with Kaito's ultimate attack, which is once again utilizing the fact that you can activate it for 1 time in 3 turns. Now, I already mentioned earlier what this allows you to do is you can potentially, activate it, then have Kaito die off to do a switcheroo with another backup character to continue the buff, etc. as well. However, even in those cases where you can't control for Kaito to be actually killed off, don't worry about that because there's still another way around you can use this characteristic of his ultimate attack, which is the fact that you can actually stack this twice within those 3 turns as well. Now, what that basically means is that provided you are able to get enough essentially ultimate energy in just 1 turn, because remember on turn 1 you'll be utilizing that, on turn 3 you want to use it again, so essentially you need to charge up your ult in a single turn on turn 2, well kind of like in between turn 1 and turn 3, but provided you're able to do that, and I'll show you guys in a demo how you can do that. But if you're actually able to do that, what you can then end up with is that you can then get a whooping 230% buff in just 3 turns, which is actually a lot higher than, for example, what Yaga is able to do. Like Yaga is already well known for having the highest numerical value in terms of buffing, and that's 45.8% for 4 turns. So that's only around 180% over 4 turns, which is nothing compared to if you're actually able to do it correctly with Kaito and stack it twice, because this is 230% in just 3 turns. Now, granted, this is only for curse technique, whereas Yaga is buffing both type of attack. However, I did mention earlier as well, vast majority of the strong DPS in this game are curse technique users anyway, so this is still going to be valid for vast majority of the DPS out there. Now, how can you actually trigger that, charge up his ult between essentially just 1 turn, right? The way you're going to do it is going to be slightly different depending on whether the enemy actually land a hit on you. Because when the enemy actually hits you, you're gonna get charged up with ultimate energy. So depending on, for example, if the enemy happen to have an AoE attack, then it's perfect for you because that basically means you're guaranteed to get hit. Or if they only do single target attack, then you may have to be somewhat lucky. However, even in the sense where the enemy doesn't hit you at all, there's still a way you can guarantee that, which is basically using the combination of Unity, this reflection, and also Toge. Now, if the enemy actually end up hitting you with either AoE attack or just got lucky with single target, then you don't actually need all three of those criteria. You can do it with just two of them, and a lot of time you can probably get rid of Toge. However, I'm just going to show you in this demo right now. So just to show you guys, even if the enemy doesn't hit you at all, so I don't get any other external influence or help to my Kaito, to charge up his ultimate energy, I can still do it consistently using everything which are in my control, which is basically, the two reflection I mentioned plus Toge. Now, basically, in order to make sure that I don't get hit by the enemy, what I'm going to do is I place this taunt reflection on my Gojo to taunt the attack for the first 3 turns, which is basically what I'm going to do now. And in fact, let me quickly check what's the cooldown for this. Okay, I won't be able to get out cooldown fast enough, so that's fine. I'm just going to take a bit of time here. So I'm just going to quickly charge up off my ultimate attack on my Kaito so that I can use it for the very first time, and then afterwards try to quickly charge up again straight away. Okay, so you can see by turn 3, I have already got it going for the very first time. And then I'll be using his ultimate attack for the very first time as well. And then I'll be placing this taunt reflection on my Toge just to make sure my Kaito doesn't get hit. So to show you guys, I don't need any external help in order to make sure my Kaito actually charge up his ulti in essentially just 1 turn. Now, what I'm going to do is pop off Unity straight away, because if you remember from what I talked about attacking order before, you'll realize that my Kaito is going to move in front of my Toge, because both of them are using buff skills, and Kaito is positioned in front of Toge, so naturally he will attack before him. And then by the time Kaito actually uses his ultimate attack, this will already wipe his ultimate gauge to 0. So by the time my Toge actually uses his skill 2, this is actually going to benefit from Unity. So this is basically what I'm going to do. And for my Gojo, I'm going to keep it realistic, which is why I'm not going to use his ultimate attack, because normally what you actually want to do is that you want to stack it twice. Both in terms of Kaito's ultimate attack, you want to stack it twice, but also in terms of Gojo's attack, Gojo's reflection, because normally you have Pride, right? So I'll be placing Pride here so that by turn 6, I will have Pride stacked twice as well, which is also, by the way, turn 6, you have Kaito's ultimate attack stacked twice, and that's also how you can, maximize the amount of damage here. So I already shown you, because of this trick I used last turn, I'm already able to charge up Kaito's ultimate energy straight away on the same turn that he already used his ultimate energy. And then what I'm going to do now is simply pop this up, and this is going to benefit from Unity. So this is going to basically increase mine to the max. And for this turn, I wouldn't even have enough cut energy on my Toge to charge up ultimate energy for my Kaito anyway, so it doesn't really matter, because all I needed is that one extra attack from Toge, and that was enough. And that's why I was saying earlier, for example, even in some scenarios, if the enemy actually just end up targeting your Kaito through either AoE attack or a single target, sometimes it's actually going to be enough. You don't even need this extra bit of help from Toge anyway. So this is basically what I'm going to show you guys here. So I'm just going to pop this off on my Kaito, and remember, I am still taunting the enemy with my Toge's reflection. So my Kaito didn't get any hit, and as you can see, Kaito already have his ultimate attack charged up. And this basically allow me to do this, which if you actually take a look at this, you will realize I have lots of physical technique and curse technique increase, and that's from Yaga. However, I also have this crazy one, which is 1 turn left and also 1 time left. This is from the first time Kaito is using his ultimate attack, and this is a whooping 115. And now I'm able to double that with the second attack I'm going to use with my Kaito as well. So that's basically how you can do it. Yep, so you can see here, Kaito activated his ultimate attack twice. So by the time my Gojo actually nuked, this should have been under the influence of 2 stacks of Kaito's ultimate, and probably on the influence of 4 stacks from Yaga's buff, and also 2 stacks of Pride as well. And that's how you can do crazy amount of damage with just, essentially only 2 supporter, because Toga is not actually providing any damage buff. However, I'm able to compensate essentially just by using Kaito's attack twice.